Welcome to Sound of the Gjallarhorn, where faith, tradition, and philosophy meet the modern world. Here is your host, Mark Greer.
Welcome to the show, everyone, and hail the gods and goddesses. I'm your host, Mark Breer, here on another episode of Sound of the Gjallarhorn. Now, this series that we're going to be talking about, we're going to be doing a three-part series here, and this one's going to be on building a community. We're going to call this the Community Series. This is going to be part one, right? And this is a topic that comes up all the time. People are always talking about building communities. They want to build a community. They want to get heathens together. They want to bring people together and all that stuff, and this is a vital aspect. The one thing we're not going to be talking about in this series that I want to make sure we clarify from the very beginning, we're not going to be talking about building communes. We're not going to be talking about building compounds. That's not something that I have any interest in doing, and I don't think any of us should have any interest in doing. We've seen how that plays out with other communities, other religions, other weird groups and stuff like that. And it's not necessary. It's not necessary to build a community by having us all on a compound and isolated and away from everybody. And I'll tell you one of the principal aspects of that. The reason why it can go south for so many people is because when you hide yourself away from the world, it doesn't matter what you're doing, right? You are going to generate fear. People are going to not trust you. It's just like the little old lady when you're a kid, people thought was a witch or whatever, and they were scared of her, thought they were going to boil her alive because she was reclusive, kept to herself, didn't really, have anything to do with people and stuff like that, so people were scared of her. And it's not her fault. She was just a little old lady who was scared or whatever and didn't want to be around people, and so people were scared of her. And it's the same thing, so that's not something that we really want to do. We don't want to, push it off. But the thing is that if we develop a community and we develop a way where like people live in neighborhoods and we come together and we get closer and we have bigger gatherings and stuff like that, then it should be something that I think is integrated. But we'll get into all that later. Because we're going to really sort of start with the microcosm and then branch out into the macrocosm. It's really going to be something that's going to really start from the inner self. It begins with you. It begins with the self. Everything as part of building a community begins with you. And the thing is that we have a lot of people in the heathen community who are always wanting to, be the chief. We have too many chiefs and not enough Indians, what a friend of mine says. And she knows who she is. But that's what we have. We have too many chiefs, not enough Indians, and we have people out there who are always coming up with ideas, but when they come up with ideas, they want to be the leader, they want to run things, but it's like when we have so many people that are just trying to run things and trying to be leaders and all that stuff, there's always like a new project starting, and it takes away from the old project, and it's just constantly starting, and it's like that sort of pop culture addiction that people have, where they were always looking for the new iPhone, the new idea, the new thing, and it's like, well, why don't we finish the old thing, the thing that we've been working on, the stuff that we've been doing, the ideas that we've been trying to gel out. Let's focus on that and do that, and make that happen before we start trying to do something new, And so the thing is, though, is that when you're looking to build a community, the first thing you have to do is look at yourself. Look at yourself as an individual. Who am I? Who am I as a person? And do I think that I'm a person that can be around other people, that enjoys being around other people, that feels that I can inspire other people and help other people? Is that something I need to work on? Because we can always work on ourselves. People, I think a lot of problems that people face today in the world is complacency. It's saying, oh, I can't do this. I can't, rise above. I can't, I can't build myself up. I can't change who I am. I am who I am. And it's like, no, you can. You can always change who you are. You can always reach for something better. You can always decide, today is the day. Today is the day that I become a different person, a better person, and I grow and I get stronger and I get better. And that's really how it starts. And so today, we're going to be getting into some brutal truths for people. I have a lot of friends, a lot of people out there who are good people, decent people, and I'm speaking to them, and I'm speaking to a lot of you guys out there, and a lot of you gals out there, a lot of people who are just sort of lost, and they don't know why they're lost, and they're frustrated, and they're angry, and they're alone, and they don't understand why they're alone. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the self. I've known guys, and it's mostly guys, and I'm gonna speak to that, from experience as being a guy myself, and I hope the ladies will get a message from that, as I'm moving forward. But I know a lot of guys who they get entrenched in sort of this nerd culture, pop culture phenomenons. They want to be like all into their toys and their games and their movies and stuff that they're into, and it's like, this is a part of who I am, and this is my identity. And the thing is that a lot of this stuff is chick repellent. It's what it is, And if you're trying to be folkish, if you're trying to build a community, if you're trying to do something that you feel benefits your folk, I mean, you have that fire within you. Every one of us who are folkish heathens, we all have that fire within us. We know what's going on. We don't like it, and we're trying to fight against it, and we're trying to stem the tide and try to rebuild our people. And that's what we're doing. So you have to ask yourself, is this what I'm doing? Is this what I want to do? Do I want to rebuild my people, rebuild my folk, rebuild my culture, to build it up from the centuries-old onslaught of unifiers who have tried to destroy us? Is this something that I want to do? And if you say that within yourself, this is something that I want to do. I want to step up. I want to do something for my people. Then you have to not just see it as something that you want to do. It's like when you get married, all right? There's sometimes when you get married that there are things you have to do that you don't want to do. And there's sometimes you have to put up with your spouse when you don't want to put up with them. But you have to, because you have a loyalty, you have a duty to it. And so that's what you have to take on. You have to take upon the responsibility, the duty, the obligation, and say, this is me. This is what I'm going to stand up for. This is my cause. This is my identity. This is my folk, my people. And in taking up that responsibility and that duty, you have to do what it takes. And if what it takes means getting rid of all of this garbage, which is just that, games and toys and stuff like that, in order to be something better, in order to, figure out ways that you can connect to other human beings and actually, get a wife or for women, get a husband and stuff like that. I mean, then you have to break away from that. And like I said, I'm mainly speaking to the guys because the guys are the ones who get connected to this stuff. And, and my wife just recently posted a article on Facebook where it was talking about how, the male identity is being broken apart and broken down, and it's mainly because of the high divorce rates that we had in the 80s and 90s, and all these guys have been raised without dads, and they don't know what it's like to have a dad or a male figure in their life, so they're just lost. But the thing is that we're here for you. That's what we do. That's what this movement is about. It's about being there for you, because you're part of our folk. And we want to help you. We want to be there for you. And it's not just about starting another group. It's not just about saying a bunch of words. It's about actually connecting to a person who's lost, who's lonely, who doesn't know how to talk to women, who doesn't know how to step up and say, hey, this is what I want to do, but I don't know where to begin. And a lot of guys are so self-defeating about all this stuff. They have like this defeatist idea because they sit on Facebook all day and they think that all women are a bunch of feminazis and they're all out to get them, and they just lose all hope, and they're like, oh, women don't want this and they don't want that. And it's like, that's not true. There's plenty of good women out there. And I think all the women who listen to this need to show that. There are good women out there, and they're not all looking for Bill Gates and Brad Pitt and all that stuff. There are women who just want families, who want to build a good life, who want to live good lives, and that's most women out there. These people who scream all this stuff, they're just a loud voice that gets put on the media, and they are the voice, and they get heard more because they scream the most. But most human beings are just regular folks. It doesn't matter. They might be, oh yeah, I connect to this or I connect to that, but they're just regular people who get up every day. They put their pants on one leg at a time. They go to work a job. They do what they got to do. So they're out there. I mean, there are people that you can connect to, and there are women and there are men out there that are lost, that if you're a folkish heathen, you can go find them and help them find their way. You can do that. We can show you how to do that if you don't know how to do it. But that's what you do. You help find people who are lost, and you help bring them, back to their people, back to their ways. And in doing so, you become a figure, that demands respect, demands honor. And that's what it is. This isn't about feeding our egos. And this is what I think that differentiates, folkish heathenry from universalist heathenry, because I believe that folkish truly are altruistic. Because these are people who live for something greater than themselves. It's about our people, our folk. When you say stuff, it's like universal. It's for the whole world, for the whole planet. Those are all platitudes. And like I've talked about in previous podcasts, those mean nothing. It's just saying it so you can say it and feel good about yourself. Because you have no connection to these other people. You don't know them, and they don't know you, and they don't care about you, as far as your little world that you got going on. But the thing is that your folk, and that connection to your folk and everything that you have, as far as that, it expands out. It expands out from yourself and then moves to your family and then moves to your community and then moves to your people. And then after that, you connect to other folk. And, it's a hierarchy of connections. It's a hierarchy of, relationships with people. And so, it has to begin with the self, because you have to become the kind of person that wants to connect to that. You have to have, the first thing, you have to have honor, right? And a lot of people in heathenry talk about honor. It's a word that gets thrown around like a buzzword. And a lot of times I think that people are just really lost on the concept, but they like hearing it because it's said in movies and it sounds really cool when I say I have honor. And then they go off and, they abandon their kids, or they, dump their families, and they go off and, just do whatever they want to do and are just completely selfish. And that's what they are. And that's really what this, age that we're in is being consumed with. It's not politics. It's not, this idea or that idea. It's selfishness. It's people who are consumed with vanity and selfishness and greed, who are it's all about me, 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 me. And that's what it's all about. It's all about that identity of the self and building up the self. And it's just about me. And selfishness is your enemy when you are a folkish heathen. It's your enemy. Because you have to look around at the world around you. You have to look at the lore. Look at when it talks about Voluspa, when it talks about, the selfishness and wantonness that comes before Ragnarok and all that stuff, that man will destroy man, pretty much. Because they've lost their connections. They've lost that relationship to one another. And that could very well be. I mean, we can see that happening. That's building. It's getting stronger. And what I tell people, when you look at history and you look at the fall of the Roman Empire or the fall of the Athenian Empire and other empires throughout history and stuff like that, I mean, the number one unifying factor they have in all of them is that they all became just completely consumed in selfishness. It was all about me, 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 me. What can I get out of this? What can I do out of this? And when you have that, your whole structure is going to fall apart, because you have to have a form of folkish altruism in order for people to connect to one another, to care about one another enough to do this. And while people who sit there and say that they're altruists, are really just trying to get like YouTube likes or whatever, and they just constantly I mean, you could literally walk around and see people just taking selfies, and it's all about me, and look what I'm doing, and I've like seen people's phones, sitting there, and they're just like flipping through, pictures of themselves all day long, It's crazy, because these people are consumed with vanity, consumed with it. It becomes their entire identity. And, these selfish desires are the root of betrayal, right? So those who betray have no honor. And I've seen it. I mean, I've seen people, I sat there, I had somebody that I talked to recently who was going to help a friend of mine, and I asked him, because my friend had been screwed over quite a few times by people who said they were heathens and good people. And I asked him not to. I was like, please don't do this. Please don't go over there and help him and then screw him over, because, that's not what we're about. That's not what we're supposed to be about. And I'll be goddamned, and excuse my language, but he went right over there, and it was like a week later, he totally screwed him over. And I'm like, where's the honor? Where's the integrity? Where's the standing up and living by the 9 virtues, or the rune law, or the values that we claim that we have? You have to live it. This has to be your lifestyle. It can't just be something that you pay tribute to. It can't just be something, you just pay lip service to. It just doesn't work that way. You either have honor or you don't. And you have to step up. You have to step up and start saying, that I am a person who has loyalty. And to me, loyalty it's my favorite of the virtues, right? Because loyalty is basically stating that I'm going to stand by you no matter what. And loyalty is the most important virtue when it comes to building families and communities. Because you have to be the kind of person that I can trust. You have to be the kind of person that I can step to the plate to and say, okay, this guy's got my back, or this girl's got my back. I know it. I know it without a shadow of a doubt. And that's the people I surround myself with. And the people who aren't inside that circle, people I don't trust, I can be friends with them, I can be cool with them, but I'm not going to be you're not going to be in my inner circle, because I don't trust you, right? And then when I see people screw them over, I don't want to be around you. I'm sorry, I just don't. And I know it's not, breaking down connections and all that stuff, but those breaking down of connections are based on the dishonor of people who betray people all the time, who are constantly screwing people over. And you see it constantly. And it's like, you have to break out of that mold. You have to stop doing that. If you betray people and you just think that, oh, well, what matters for me is what's most important, and these guys are really kind of cramping my style, so I'm just going to, screw them and I'm going to go do my thing, right? And that's how you don't have communities. That's how you break apart an entire movement. That's how you constantly have bickering and fighting and, politics and all these different angles and stuff like that is all about me, what do I believe, and you should believe like me, and you should think like me. And then it becomes an excuse to betray people, and it becomes an excuse to, focus on myself and all this stuff. And it's like, if we're going to be focused, if we're going to stand up for our people, we have to do what's right all the time. And we have to always have loyalty and honor and integrity, not just in words, but in deeds. You have to do it. And you have to always step up. This is my litmus test. You always have to step up. When I first meet a person, my first thing, like when I know I'm going to be this person's friend, this is a person that I think we can connect to. This is a good person. I want them in our life, in our inner circle. Then I myself, I don't look at what can I get out of them. I look at what can I give them. What can I offer this person? How can I help them? How can I be there for them? How can I show them that I'm a person that they can trust and that I have their back? And I've literally made great business deals. I've made great connections with people. I've made great charitable relationships. I've had so many great things in my life come by just living by that standard alone. And then I see all these people who don't live by that standards, who are constantly in a world of chaos and drama and garbage in their life because they can't be loyal. They don't know how, because the first time they get a selfish whim, they run. They take off and they go do their own thing and screw everybody behind them. And you see families after families after families in the wake of pain and suffering because of people like this. And then those families have kids who have been, living in broken homes, and they grow up and they continue the cycle because they don't know how to do it, or they don't end up with anybody, and then your folk dies because they can't have relationships. And people thought, in the 80s and 90s, everybody was like, "Oh no, this marriage is outdated. We don't need that. We don't need that stuff. We'll just go do what we do. Have sex with anybody, have kids. Oh, who cares if we have kids? We'll just take off and do our thing." And then you have this generation of boys who grew up without father figures, without men in their lives. And so they don't have a relationship. They don't have a connection. They don't know how to do this. And they're like, how do I meet a woman? How do I connect to her? How do I build a family? How do I do these things, Mark? How do I do it? And I'm like, we here, those of us, the men and the women who are in this community, who are here, we need to step up and talk to one another about these things. And not judge people. We have to come with a level of compassion because, from what they're saying, this is actual psychological damage. And I'm not a big proponent of talk like that because I think that a lot of that stuff is a cop-out. But the thing is, in this case, I see it. I literally see it. I've talked to people. I've tried to help guys to find women and all that stuff. And it's just it becomes a blockage. It's a terrifying fear that they have of trying to connect to a person, or a fear of rejection or something like that. But that's when courage comes in. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is the facing of fear, of having a great fear and standing up to it and doing it anyway. Because you have to, because it's your duty. And that's where duty comes in. That's honor. That's integrity. That's stepping up to the plate and saying, hey, this is my duty. So I got this problem. I can't find a woman. I can't do this. I can't connect to a person. So this is what I need to do. So once you've overcome this, right, and you've stepped up and you said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I've got to do this. I have to step up and I have to do this. So I'm going to learn what I have to learn in order to meet a woman or meet a man, or whatever. Like I said, I don't want to speak for women in this situation because I'm not a woman, and I think that women need to step up and speak about this for themselves, right? And we're working on some stuff for that. We're actually in the process of working on helping another podcast grow for women. I'm not throwing any names out there yet because it's really still in the early stages of that, but we are working on something like that. But in this situation, I want to speak about the situation with men because it's something important. Now, beyond that, we can start talking about everybody, right? And we're looking at what is the ideal mate, right? And I think that a lot of the issue here is that a lot of people look at the ideal mate as sort of this, Hollywood image of what the ideal mate is, which is so superficial. It's just drowning in superficiality which is why a lot of these relationships don't work. Like the guys want the perfect woman with the sculpted body, and she's so great, and she loves sports, and she has this, and there's like a million standards, and it's all this, and it's all just superficial nonsense. And the women, want a dude who's all ripped up, and he's got money, and he's got all this stuff going on for him, and all that stuff, right? And the thing is that none of that stuff matters, all right? Because women need to be looking for men with honor and integrity and loyalty, and men need to be looking for women with the same thing. You need to see people who have those standards, and they're out there. I mean, pop culture doesn't take those things away from you. You either have them or you don't, right? And you can learn them, you can gain them. Some people get so lost in it that they can't ever get out of it. But I mean, there are people out there. You can't change someone's DNA. You can't change who they are, on such a deep level. You can on superficial things, and there are just a lot of craziness going on out there. But I'm telling you, there are people out there who are good people, who have integrity, who have those values, and you can connect to them and show them what we're doing, and relate our faith to them. And there are going to be people who are going to be inspired by that. But you just have to figure out a way to bring the message to them. So the first thing we have to do when we're looking at the ideal mate is we have to come into this understanding that love is not passion. It's not the same thing, right? And that's a big deal. It's a big deal because when you look at love as passion, then you're just seeing it as like, I'm just getting laid. I'm just going out and finding a partner and getting laid, and that's fun and it's passionate and all that stuff. And then when that passion dies, I'm getting bored. I want to go do something else. And so it just becomes like a game. You're just playing tag with people. And it's like, it's not what it's about. Love is not passion. Love is like a commitment. It's a duty. It's an honor, right? You find a person that you're connected to, and then you love them even when you hate them. Even when you're so freaking mad at them. You still, hey, this is the person I chose. This is my spouse. This is my wife. This is my family. This is my husband. This is the person I've had kids with. This is what you have to imagine yourself with. And those people, who live, by their whims, who are like, it just amazes me. Like there are people even in the focus community who are like, they get married and they're a childbearing age and they have no kids and they're not going to have kids. And they say, we refuse to have kids. We've decided we're not going to have kids. Well, how do you call yourself folkish? Folkish is about continuing the folk. It's about traditionalism. And we literally have in our sources, like in Tacitus Germani is one of them, where like childlessness is not a part of the tradition. You just don't get to do that. Right? It's a duty. You have to further the folk. You have to continue the line. And it's like I actually posted a thread on this, and it's like I said, if you decide, and this is something you've decided, I'm not talking to people who can't have kids or stuff like that. I'm talking about the people who have decided, I have a spouse and we're of childbearing age and we can have kids and all that stuff, but we refuse to. Don't call yourself folkish, because you're not. Because your body, when you're dead, right, your corpse is going to be just as meaningless and useless as forgotten as the most communist liberal that you hate or whatever, right? That's the truth. And like I said, we're going to be speaking some brutal truths today. You may not like it, but it's the truth. Because the number one tradition of the folk is furthering the folk, the survival of the folk, period. And if you refuse that, then you refuse the folk and you refuse folkishness. And that's that. Sorry. So, and the thing is that once you decide to have that commitment to another person, this is the person I've committed to, then you have to see it as a duty just as much as the love part. And the duty really comes in when those struggles happen, when the difficulties happen, when those things arise that you don't like. That's where it comes in. There'll be times when you'll be so mad that you just can't even see straight, and it happens to everyone. Everyone gets mad when they're in a relationship. My wife and I have been married for 14 years now. We just had our anniversary. And 14 years. And we don't fight often. It's very rare that we get in a fight. We've had a few doozies in the time. There's been some bickering. It happens to everybody. And anybody who thinks it's not going to happen is delusional. It happens, And the thing is, though, is that when it happens, and you're mad and you're upset, that's when the duty kicks in. Hey, just because I'm mad, I don't just get to leave. I don't get just to walk out and say, hey, I'm done. See ya. Getting kind of bored of you, so bye. It's not like that. It doesn't get to work like that. You have to put in your head, I don't get to do that. Especially when you have kids, I understand people get divorced. It happens. It happened in ancient times and stuff like that. Divorces happen. Sometimes it just gets so freaking awful that you just can't bear one another. and that's it. But what I'm saying is that, you always do everything that you can to stick to that commitment, stick to that duty, stick to your family. Because if you're just doing it because, I want to go play in a band, or I want to go meet other women, or I want to go have parties and live like I was 15 again and stuff like that, that's pretty pathetic. All right. But if, sometimes it's just irreconcilable differences, and that happens. I'm not saying, like you're evil or awful if you do that. I'm saying that the commitment must be something that must always take the highest order and be a part of your life so much that you see the duty as the most sacred thing, because it is the most sacred thing. I mean, it's the only thing in the relationship where it's like in our lore and stuff like that. It's a big deal, especially like when they're talking about adultery and stuff like that. It's like a big deal. And so you don't just do that. You don't just, go on a whim and say, yeah, I'm done with you. See ya. So once you're looking at, building yourself and, building who you are, and then trying to connect to a person, trying to build a family, trying to connect to one another, then you're contributing to the community. And, that's what you're doing. And that contribution is what is going to help build communities. And that's why I say it starts with the self and then moves to the family. And then the family moves to, to building a community. Because a community is only going to work if it's made up of families. If you have a bunch of individuals who are getting together for gatherings and stuff like that, and they're not building families, then, you just have like a party. You're just having parties and having fun. Because it's got to be made up of family. There's got to be kids involved. There's got to be husbands and wives involved. There's got to be families involved in this, period. Otherwise, we're going to stagnate and die. I mean, you see some of these other religious movements, man, these guys are having 10, 15, 20 kids. Huge families. Imagine how many, like if we had just like 15 families in the heathen movement that did that, had like 10 kids, 11 kids, 12 kids, then imagine how many grandchildren they have. Each one of their kids has 5, 6, 10 kids. Then you're talking about in 2 generations, you got like 100, 200 people. Just like that, all raised under heathenry. And that's how you do it. It's a numbers game. It's a very simple numbers game. The more kids you have, the more grandkids you have. The more grandkids you have, the more great-grandkids you have. And if you teach your kids to have those values, the number one value is to have a large family, then that's it. Our movement spreads. Look at the Mormons, right? Mormonism is a very strange religion. It has a very strange set of tenets that most people wouldn't really connect to. People look at it like those guys are kind of weird. But their movement is huge. And why? It's not because they went around and proselytized and got all these people into the fold, which they do proselytize. But it's like, but the thing is what they do is they have a ton of kids. And they have a ton of kids, and because of that, they've like took over the entire state of Utah. And they had a guy running for president, and they have a lot of power and a lot of money, and they have a lot of influence, and they have a lot of things that they can do with their faith. Like you go into Utah, there's literally a church on every street corner. These are people who are hugely successful in what they're doing. And the reason why they do that is because they have a ton of children. And that's the only way to succeed, folks. Like seriously, it's the only way we're going to succeed. If we don't start stepping up to the game and demanding that we have large families in our community, then this is going to continue just being a cosplay game for a lot of people. It isn't for me, and it isn't for a lot of people I'm connected to, but I'm saying it's going to continue going down that route. So it's something we have to do, right? So in doing all that, I want to, I said before I was mainly talking to men here. And I'm not going to speak for anybody here, but I want to send some messages out. I want to send a message out to women, and then I'm going to send out some messages to men. Okay? So the message that we have for women, and I'm not going to try to pretend like I know, I can get into your head and tell you what to think or whatever. Is but there are certain patterns that I could see, certain things that I recognize, and so the message to women that I would have, and as a part of this, would be, first off, understand that youth and beauty are fleeting, right? The idea that we're going to absorb ourselves, because I know that pop culture and society and stuff like that makes this superficial image of women, and women are just sex objects, and it's all about how pretty you are and how big your boobs are or whatever, and it's all about that image, and it really just turns you into an object, and I see that, and I think that all heathens see that, and I tell people, the thing I like about heathen morality is that we're it's like a balance. There's a balance between the two extremes. You have the one extreme that tells you that you should cover up and be hidden and be sheltered and you're all weak and frail and stupid or whatever. And that's a bad model. And then you have the other one that's, the other side that just tells you you're all sluts and whores and you should just dress, as as scantily as possible and just, dress like a prostitute every time you go out because that's who you are or whatever, and then you just become an object. And the thing is that heathenry teaches women to be respectable and to be respected. And that's the thing. You see in the ancient lore, that's the way it was. Like, women held a higher role, but that higher role was not something that just allowed women just to be whatever they want to be and do what they want to do. Just like with a man's got to have certain codes to live by, certain ways to live by. And the same thing with women. Women have to have a code. They have to have a certain standard for themselves and respectability. And as women have respectability, then they will be respected. And that's the way it is. Right? Anybody can make a point against that or whether they want to. It doesn't change that fact. You can, if you act like a person who doesn't deserve respect, then you won't be respected. Period. And the thing is that a big mantra that exists in our day and age for women is that they don't need a man. Well, you don't need a man. Well, that's true. You could say that you don't need a man, and men don't need women. But the fact is that all of you, your folk, need you. And we need you. We need you to be a part of this. We need you to connect to this. Because this is the survival of our people. This is the survival of our traditions. And we're against a very powerful force that is out to destroy us. And they're telling us that they're out to destroy us. There's no conspiracy, no hidden agenda anymore. It's just we're out to destroy you. We want to take you out. Because we see you as a hindrance to everything that we're trying to do, which is implement, global unification policies that they've been trying to do for 2,000 years now, and they've never been able to achieve. And they really reached the conclusion that the biggest obstacle in that way is white people, which is what they think. And the thing is that as we grow older, right? We grow older and we start to, when we're kids and all that stuff and we're young, we think, oh man, my whole life is about my career. It's all about me achieving who I want to be and doing and living and fulfilling my dreams. And people talk all the time about their dreams to the point where I just get want to puke when I hear the word dreams. Because dreams is just it's become a buzzword for selfishness. It's all about me. I want to follow my dreams. What's about me? Screw what everybody else wants. Screw my folk, my community, my country, all the people around me. It's about me and my dreams, right? And anybody who stands in the way of that, I'm going to figure out ways to make them out to be a bad person. And the thing is that when these people get older, and my wife has worked with people like this. My wife has worked as a travel agent for a while. She worked with a lot of older women. We've been around older women and stuff like that, and they get to that age, 50, 60 years old, and they're like, what did I do? What have I done with my life? I have nothing now. I have nothing. I have no family. I have no kids. I have no one. And all that independence, all that strength I talked about, and I ended up with nothing in my hands. Nothing. I have no one to care for me. And when I get to a point where I have to be taken care of, I have to go to a state hospital and hope that they'll take care of me properly, hope that they won't abuse me, hope that they won't do horrible things to me, because they do a lot. And that's it. That's what I have. That's my life. And I don't even have anybody to come visit me because no one cares, because I was strong and independent when I was 20. And that's what it is. And the thing is that you have to find a man who has honor. And that's what it is, and that's the difficult thing. That's why we're having this discussion, because the men have to have honor and the women have to find men with honor. And in order to do that, they have to have honor themselves. Because you're going to reflect and you're going to get back what you put out into the universe. Everybody knows that. It's the law of karma, the law of Erlag, all that stuff. What you put out there is what you get back. So if you put out there this strong, independent, negative vibe and all that stuff, and I don't mean, we love strong and independent, or strong women who are willful and powerful. That's part of the heathen way. But you know what I'm saying when I talk about strong and independent. I'm talking about the whole image of that's you don't need a man, and you don't need family, and you don't need culture, and you don't need any of that stuff. You just be who you are and go follow your dreams, right? And it's just buzzwords and misconceptions and lies. And so the thing is that we have to be honorable people. one of my favorite things that I look at, one of my favorite stories out of the lore, is the story of Nanna's death, right? A lot of times people talk about Baldur's death, but I find it more fascinating of Nanna's death. And the reason why is because when Nanna dies, she dies of heartbreak. She sees her husband on the funeral pyre, and she loves him so much that she drops dead upon seeing his dead body. And the reason why I love that story so much is not because that Nanna dies to be with her husband. She dies because she loved him so much, because he was worthy of that love. And that's what it is. It's not about, it's not about how much you expect from the other person. It's about yourself. It's about being worthy of that, of having someone loving you so much that when they see your dead body, they die from it. And I mean, obviously that's an extreme. That has happened though. I think they call it broken heart syndrome or something. But it's just, be somebody worth mourning. Be somebody worth, having that heartbreak over. Because if you're not, if you're thinking about the moment, if you're living in the moment and you're living for yourself and all that stuff, then no one's going to care when you die. And that's sad. That's a really sad way to go. And I kind of chalk that up to secularism and atheism. We're like, oh, when we die, we're all just, and it's nothing and it doesn't matter and it's stupid and all that stuff. And it's like, and so they don't live worthy lives. You don't live worthy lives because you don't care about having a worthy death. And so that's the thing. And in the Synda book that we put out not too long ago, we had questions, and we have a betrothal ceremony. And in that, we put questions for young women or women to ask a man to when they meet a man, to not actually formally ask them, but just know, just learn these things about a person. And a man could learn, have questions and ideas and stuff like that. But the idea is to figure out the most important things. The most important things. Is this person going to be good to me? Is this person going to be loyal to me? Is this person going to have integrity? Is this person going to be someone that I respect and I look up to and I want to have kids with? Is this something that matters, right? So that's what I'm saying, and that's my message to women, and I hope that people will take that to heart. And like I said, we're going to help to get more stuff connected for women. That's something that's always been a major factor for me. I can't do everything, so I'm trying to get stuff going. We started the Phrase League on Facebook, and that was a thing that a lot of women have been interested in, and I think that's an important aspect. We need to get more women involved. We need more women leaders. We need more women faces out in the world, making videos and podcasts and connecting and showing people what this is and how this relates to them. So our next message is going to be for the men. All right? And I think that with men in our society, right, we're being taught that in order for a man to be a good person, he has to be soft and weak, right? And you see these videos, and it's like even a lot of straight guys now are trying to act like they're gay, and they talk with lisps, and they're all just, oh, la, 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 and all this stuff. And it's like, you don't have to be soft and weak to be a good person. In fact, it's the opposite. Typically, soft and weak people are people who have weak morals, and they have weak values, and they're people who aren't loyal. And because they're soft and weak, they have no courage. Courage is the virtue. I mean, we talk about loyalty being the most important virtue, but you got to have courage to be loyal. You got to have the courage to step up when the entire mob is coming after someone that you care about, and you say, no, I'm not putting up with that. This person is a person that I'm loyal to, and I will stand for them no matter what. I don't care what all you guys say, because this is the person that I'm loyal to. And the mob will stand there and talk about how bad you are. Then it's like, well, because I gave this person my loyalty, and I'm doing what I got to do. That's courage. That's strength. So a soft and weak person can't do that because they're soft and weak. And the thing is if you have to commit. When you commit to something, you have to do it with honor. You have to stand by it. Be a man. Step up. When things go bad, be the rock. Be the one who says, I am going to handle this. I am going to fix it. I will make it right. If I mess up, I will fix it. I will make it right. I will provide for my family. I will get a job. I will get off my couch, out of my parents' basement, away from nerd culture, away from all this garbage that's distracting us, keeping people on their couches, keeping people in front of their TVs and their computers and all that stuff. And I'm going to step up, and I'm going to be a man. And that's what you have to do. And it's not nice. I'm not here to be nice. We're not here to be nice. We're here to tell you to be a man. And that's not always nice. That's just the way it is. And you can't just sit around and think, well, I'm just going to be like this, and I'm going to do like this, and it's all good, and it's who I am. It's my dreams. Because that's what it is. That's where it goes back to. My dreams, it's all about me. And, understand that, all of this stuff is, it's about, like, when you're trying to find women, you're trying to connect women, you're being part of a mating ritual is what it is. When you break it down to it, we're still animals. We like to, relate to our civilization and say we're civilized and we're separate from nature and all this, but we're still natural. We're still part of nature. We're still natural beings, and we're going to have those natural inclinations, and we're still going to have those mating rituals. And, at the end of the day, a lot of women, are tricked into believing and thinking that, they need a man who's wealthy and he's got money and he's got good looks and he's blah blah blah, and then they go hook up with that guy, and then a few years later the fire burns out and they're like, whatever. And that goes back to, we're talking about love is not passion. Love is like, love kicks in after the passion is gone, because the passion doesn't stay forever. I mean, you're not going to be like you were when you first hooked up and you were all together and it was all just steamy and hot and great and you had this chemistry and there's all connection and all stuff. That eventually is not like as powerful as it was. And when you have that, that's when the love kicks in. That's when the duty kicks in, and you're like, hey, I got to stick it out with this person because this is the person I chose. I made this choice and I'm standing by it. And that's what you have to do. You have to make choices and then stand by it. That's what a man does. He doesn't act fleeting. He doesn't like, oh, I'm going to go here and I'm going to go there and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. He makes a decision and then he does it. And he follows it through. And that's the difference between being a winner and being a loser. And you don't want to be a loser. Don't be a loser. All right? Step up. Step up to the plate. Do what you got to do. When you make a decision, say, this is my decision and this is what we're doing. And that's the way it is. And you have to be the rock. You have to be the rock for your family. So, and then going beyond that, this is my, pass the messages to men and women. This is for everybody, all right? When you're in a relationship, when you're connecting to other people, always expect that it's going to be hard at times. When you walk into a relationship expecting that everything's going to be great and rainbows and it's going to be wonderful and it's all going to be like this is in the movies and you're going to run towards each other on the beach and make out in the waves and all that stuff. I mean, they don't ever show that people get sand in their butt when they do that stuff. I mean, life isn't what it isn't the image and all the great things that everybody makes it out to be. Life is hard. Life gets difficult. Life gets complicated. Life gets, sometimes it just like seems like you can't move forward. But that's when you step up and say, no, well, when I see that I can't move forward, that's when I have to move forward. That's the moments when I'm being tested. That's the moments when I have to say, hey, here it is. I got to step up. I got to be a man. I got to do what I got to do. Because if it's all easy, then where's the adversity in any of that stuff, right? So you have to be willing to work through it. You have to be willing to accept responsibility, accept duty, care for the person who's connected you genuinely. Don't look at them as a person who does something for you, right? Don't look at that person and say, what does this person do for me? Look at it, what do I do for this person? How can I be worthy of this person? And then once you do that, that person will see that and then will want to try to be worthy of you. That's how it works. It's reciprocity. Being reciprocal, give and take. I give to you, I take from you. We give and take. I give to you, you take from me. Stuff like that. It's all, that connection, that balance. So you have to reciprocate. And another thing is, another message is that, don't be a doormat. Because in reciprocity, don't be one who's always giving, always giving, always giving. You have to stand up for yourself every now and then. And sometimes that's where fights happen, because you're saying, hey, I think that you're kind of stepping on me too much, and I need to step up and say that because you don't want to be a doormat for anybody. And that's okay, because that happens. Because the thing is that if you try to build a relationship based on just being nice all the time, and somebody's stepping on you, and then you can build resentment towards each other, and then it blows up, and then it becomes really bad. So, and resentment is a bad thing. Like, you can build up resentment, and that can be a relationship killer. It just gets worse and worse, But a lot of times, you can follow the words of Odin. Just give gifts. Be romantic, not just on special occasions. Don't think that you have to do it, everything, don't think that what you do in the everyday counts, because it doesn't, And that's what some people think. They think, well, I take care of the bills and I pay this and I clean the house and I do this and that stuff matters, and that's my contribution to the relationship. That's not what it is. That's you doing your part. And you have to do your part, Because if you don't do your part, that's when you're stepping on someone else, because you're asking them to do your part too, with their part. And that's where you have stuff like resentment. So this is just relationship advice that I'm giving. I think that this is important. I think that we have to help people get relationship advice. We need relationship counselors. We need people who are involved, because building these relationships is the cornerstone of all of this. If we don't help people to build these relationships, then we're not going to move forward. My entire life, I'm going to tell you right now, my entire life is built upon building the traditions of our faith. And because of that, I've spent many, 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 many hours reading books and connecting things and doing research and finding relationships with one thing or another and all that stuff. And I'm going to tell you right now that is as important as that work is to me. It's my life's work. It's the most important thing. It is garbage compared to building these relationships. It's garbage, because it means nothing if I can't help people to get this information and use it to build families and communities and better themselves, right? So if I see that this thing would ever be a detriment, that work would be a detriment to doing that, I would throw it all in the trash and never focus on it again. Now, I don't do that because I believe that it does. I believe that it does help people, and I believe that it does give me a platform to help teach people and show people the important things that matter. Because this is what matters, building relationships. And it starts with you right now today. I want you to think about what I'm saying and tell yourself, I'm going to make the commitment right now to do what I've got to do for my family or for my folk. And that means that if I have to step away from certain things that I see are a detriment to my life, things that break me away from what I'm trying to do, or keep me from getting a partner or a spouse or whatever, if these things are keeping me from doing it, then I need to get rid of them. I need to make them go away. If I'm doing things that aren't allowing that to happen, because that is the most important thing. Learning another language, reading a book, having a library full of 10,000 books, and performing all these rituals and going to gatherings, all of that stuff is nothing compared to building families and building relationships and growing communities. All right? So I'm going to close with that. That's going to be part 1 of this series, and the next one we're going to go to is actually having a family, what the family is and how it relates to us and how important to it is. So that'll be the part 2, and then in part 3 we're going to go into the actual community. All right, so I want everyone, if you're interested in what I'm talking about, if you're interested in what we're saying, check out our website. It's www.norroena.org, Norroena.org. We're on Facebook. We're actually starting to expand into some of the other social media sites and stuff like that. A lot of people are leaving Facebook, getting out of there and stuff like that. We're looking at MeWe and VK and Gab and all these different ones that everybody's getting on. So we've got a new promotions coordinator, Mikey Heathen. He's a great guy, so he's working with us on that. So we're trying to get everything out there so people have all those connections no matter what social media site they get on. So just check us out. Contact us. You can email us at norroena@gmail.com, norroenasociety@gmail.com, NORROENA society@gmail.com. And we'll get back to you. You can become a member. We can send you our Griffin's book, which is our membership guide, all that stuff. So get in touch with us. Let us know what you think, and have a great night.